right, welcome back to another day of PE. But this isn't going to be your regular PE class. We're going to do things a little differently. We've got about 1 week left of school. The weather's getting nicer out after a huge rainstorm. So we want to give you a chance to go outside and use your bike. So this video is going to be one of instruction today. You don't actually have to do anything today. So your work for today is just watch the video. The information that's in the video is going to be used for the next couple days. So you need to watch the video all the way through. That's how you're going to get credit, is to watch the video all the way through, because I can tell when and how much of the video you watched. And it's going to help you in the next couple days. So we're going to be doing some biking. I did that survey with you guys, and 78% of you were interested in biking and had the appropriate gear, so we're going to give it a shot. And those of you that don't have the appropriate gear or the bike necessary for this, I'll provide an optional alternate for you. But I'd like to see if you can take part in this. Borrow a bike, borrow a friend's bike, or do something so you can get involved with the biking aspect of this. So for biking, this is actually an elective for 8th grade in my class, but it's also one of those things that for you guys your age, it should be a big deal. Reason being is it's your main mode of transportation. Most people, well, aren't going to get a ride everywhere they want to go from their parents. None of you can drive yet. Probably don't want to walk that distance all the time. So biking is the way to go for you guys. And biking for humans is the most efficient way of travel. Most efficient way of travel for humans is biking. Now, as runners, we're the most efficient runners on the planet because we have the ability to sweat and cool down the body. Right? So we can run for much longer distances than any other species. But as far as efficiency, once we put you on a bike, you're more efficient than anything else. So utilize that. Right? Not only that, it's a great cardio workout, great for the legs, all kinds of stuff. So I want to make sure your bike is ready to go. Make sure you understand what type of bike you have, some basic care on it, and you're going to do that with your bike, go through it based on what I'm going through here, along with the sheet that's also attached to this assignment that you can download or print off, and just kind of go through a checklist on your bike. So let's start with the bike size and type of bike. So this is my bike here. I'm going to cut off my head off frame so you can at least see the bike a little bit better. But on the bike, this is more of a mountain bike type setup. It's got knobbier wheels, it's got the T handlebars, the frame, the seat, the gears, and all that kind of stuff. It's more geared up for mountain biking. Now the problem is, everyone's got these. Where are the mountains? We don't have mountains in Illinois. It's pretty flat. But these are the popular bike. And for me, I got this because I used to do some races, mud races and hill races on this. So this was what I needed for racing. But for most people, you don't need a mountain bike. Everyone's got them because they're cool, and they are cool. They're fun to ride. But typically, in this area, a road bike is going to be what you're going to use, because most people that have mountain bikes have never used them in the mountains, or probably hardly ever used them on a trail. So you're spending a lot of money on a mountain bike when a road bike is much more efficient, utilizes your energy much better, more comfortable, and works great. But along with that, the other bikes that people might have, regular speed bikes with the curved handlebars, used for speed and racing. Cruiser bikes. These are bikes where you sit up more and just kind of cruise. You know, you might see that on vacation at different resorts, that kind of thing. BMX bikes, trick bikes, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different varieties, but I'm going to basically go through what you might see in a mountain bike and typical things that you want to care for on the mountain bike. So first thing is, do you have the right size? Because I see people riding down the street, and I see people at school riding a bike that is not even close to their size, and they're struggling to ride it, and they don't even realize it. Right? So let's make it a little bit easier for you. So if you go to purchase a bike or want to size up your bike, make sure it's the right size. There's a couple things you need to do. The first thing is you need to be able to straddle the bike and stand flat-footed. So if I'm standing here, let's get this bad boy out of the way a little bit. If I'm standing here, I should be able to stand flat-footed while standing over the bar. Right? By doing that, I should not be touching the bar. I should be able to lift up on the wheel a couple inches before it makes contact. Right? If I can't do that, if I'm on my toes, bike's too big. If there's a lot of gap between me and the bicycle, or I can lift up a lot, the bike's probably too small, right, as far as a frame. Now some of you guys will out there would say, well, I don't have the center bar. I've got a girl's bike that angles down. Okay, that's gonna be a little bit different. We'll have to size it based on the pedals. But understand, there's no need for a girl's bike anymore. Right? That's a holdover from a long time ago when women used to ride bikes with a dress. Right? Instead of hiking up their leg over the seat and having the dress get caught up, the bar was lower so they could step in front and be appropriate when riding a bike. But I haven't seen any women riding a bike with dresses anymore. In fact, this is a much stronger configuration than having a bar down here slanted down. So girls, if you want a girl's bike or a regular bike, doesn't matter, but don't need it anymore. Right? This one's much stronger when the bar is up here. So flat-footed, you should be able to lift up the front wheel an inch or two, right, without it making contact with you, without the bar making contact. The other thing is you got to make sure that the seat is at a proper height. Right? And that's the other thing that I see is that people pedal and they're like this. Now, if you're on a trick bike or BMX bike, you're going to be. The seat's never going to be the right size. That's a different situation. But for a stand-up, standalone cruiser bike, mountain bike, or anything else, what you got to be able to do is when you're on the bike, put your foot in the pedals, and the bottom pedal, when you push down, the leg should have just a slight bend. It should not be locked, and it shouldn't be way up here. It's just a slight bend when it's on the down position. You want maximum energy out of your bike when you pedal. And when you're pedaling little short pedals up here, that's not going to happen. Right? And if you're pedaling all the way down and extending with your toes, you're overexerting yourself. So your legs should never be locked out, but it should have a slight bend when it's all the way down. So these are two things I'm going to look for in the next 2 days that I want you to submit to me, is an image of you straddling the bike, make sure it's the right size, and showing me also that your leg is at a slight bend with the pedal all the way down in the down position while sitting on the seat. That way I know at least the bike is at the right size. And then that way you know, well, you might need a new bike, right, based on the size. All right, so sizing is important. And then we get into some of the maintenance and care of the bike and making sure that it's safe. So all bikes should have reflectors on it. You should have a front reflector, a rear reflector. I don't have a reflector anymore, so I've got a light. And then something on the wheels. All right, I'm missing one. Yep, just noticed that. So on the wheels, I got one right here. Right? Something so they can see you from the side. On the bike then, make sure your brakes are working properly. Your handlebars, the grips should be at a 45-degree angle down. They should not be way up here. They should not be way down here, otherwise you're just resting all your weight on your thumb. They should be at a 45-degree angle down towards the ground so that you're leaning on the palm of your hands and you can easily grasp the brake lever and squeeze. Now, when I go to squeeze, the brake lever should only go maybe about halfway. You should not be able to crank this all the way down to the grips. If you do, and it's going all the way down to the grip, you need to make some adjustments. And if you don't, we're not going to get into that detail today, but that's something if you can't do, take it to a bike shop and have the brakes adjusted, because you don't want to go all the way down to the handlebars. You only want to go about halfway, and they should grip. And when they grip, it's these brake pads that are gripping on the side of the frame or on the side of the wheel on this bike. Other bikes will have disc brakes, which are great. Disc brakes do a phenomenal job. They keep the brakes out of the water when you ride your tire through water or mud, so it keeps them clean. And the braking power is much, much better. So if you have disc brakes, you're doing good. Most people will have some sort of brakes that squeezes the rim of the wheel here. Right, but make sure it's riding on the rim and not on the tire, or that they're crooked or anything. So one thing I want you to do when you test your bike, and this is also something I'm going to look for, is your back brake, your front brake are independent, and you got to make sure you have your back brake working. The front brake is important to me. In fact, the back brake is much more important because if you only squeeze the front brake, you're going to go over the bike. Right? The back brake won't do that. It'll slow you down. So out of the two brakes, if you only have one that's working, make sure it's the back brake. So to test this, on the back brake, when you squeeze, when you're standing off the bike, when you squeeze the bike or the brake, you should be able to push it forward and the back wheel should not spin. That back wheel should not spin. Right? The front brake then, when you squeeze, you push forward, the bike should lift up. There should be no sliding of that tire. All right? That's just a basic quick test. There's more that you can do to make sure it's nice and strong, but make sure the wheels aren't turning when you press those brakes. Right? So after the brakes, you want to make sure your handlebars are secure. I'm amazed at how many people I've had in my class. We start riding and they turn the handlebars and the front wheel doesn't turn. Right? Or they hit a curve and the front wheel turns and the handlebars stay straight. So you should be able to straddle the front wheel, pitch it between the legs. You should be able to just snugly turn the handlebars without turning the wheel. If your handlebars turn and the wheel staying stationary, you got a problem. All right? And this is one that rusts out very quickly. But there's a hex nut here, or hex screw here. And this is what you're going to want to tighten down and take care of to make sure this handlebar is locked in place. So earlier in this questionnaire, I asked you if you had any hex keys. Right? These are hex keys. They're Allen screws. They're Allen heads. So these are, they come out. You have this type of base on it. All right. So you'd find the one that fits there and use that to tighten it down. Most of them have this type of configuration, or it's portable and you have multiple sizes on here. They come in different types of measurement, whether it's English, standard, or metric, and some other stuff here. So you're gonna find one that fits the nut that's on top there and tighten that down. Going back to the seat real quick, when you make that adjustment on your seat for the height, because you're going to have to make that adjustment to make sure your leg has a partial slight bend, it's great if you have a quick release here. It just pops off and then you can move the seat up and down. Right. I can take that, pop it off, slide it wherever I want, and then lock it back down. That's a real nice addition on a bike. If you don't have it, those are just a couple bucks from the store, and you can replace what is normally on there, which is some sort of C-clamp, and using some wrenches. All right, so if you end up using that, make sure you know your wrenches. All right? Make sure you know if they're English standard in fractions, or if it's in millimeters in metric. Don't put a wrench on there that's slightly loose and trying to force it because it'll strip the head of the bolt, right, or the nut that's on there. It should be a nice firm lock on there. So if it's not working right, don't force it. It may be metric when you're using an English standard set or vice versa. And there's all kinds of wrenches, there's all kinds of sockets that you can use. Socket sets are great. Otherwise, an adjustable wrench. This does everything. Adjust down to whatever size. You only need one of these and it can take care of the whole bike. So this is another option. All right, gears. They should be working and they should be able to go through the whole range of motion on the gear, on the gearbox. And how many of you actually use all the gears though? People buy their bikes and go, oh, I got 18 gears, I got 21, 24, 27 gears. It's crazy. And they get all excited about all these gears that it's going to make them a better rider. Again, we're in Illinois. It's flat. We're not on mountains. We're not going through trails and mud and all kinds of stuff. So typically, most of you probably fall into like 3 gears that you like the most. All right? So if you do hardcore biking, whether it's racing or multi-terrain, that's when you're going to use all your gears. Right? When I was racing in the mud races, you used all the gears. It's incredible how much you rely on those. But a little bit of history here. Gears were not a thing, and they became popular in France during the Tour de France race. Right? The biggest race, most popular race in the world. And when they became popular, they only had 2 gears. And for them, changing gears was not flipping a switch here. It was one set of sprockets on one side of the wheel, and one set of sprockets on the other side. So when you wanted to change gears, you had to get out of the race, get your tools out, take off the back wheel, take it all the way off, turn it around, put it back on, get the chain back on the other sprocket to change gears, lock it all up, and take off again. So things have come a long way from 2 gears where you had to actually remove the back wheel to 21, 27 gears, whatever it is now, on your bike that allows you to travel effortlessly. So make sure your gears are in good working order. Again, we're not going to get into detail of that, but if it's not working, if it's clicking, if it's not going to each of the sprockets on the wheel and the front sprocket here, take it to a bike shop. Have them take a look at it. The quick release on the seat is great. A lot of times there's a quick release on the wheel. Right? Same thing, this pops off. Rotate it once or twice, the whole wheel comes out. This is great for changing tires, which I recommend you learn how to do in case you have a flat. But it's also great for packing it up in your vehicle. Taking off the front wheel and putting it in the car, it makes it a whole lot easier to transport. You can also get quick release on the back tire too. Not as popular typically, but at least the front tire and the seat would be a good option. All right, moving down the bike a little bit more. This one has shocks up front, right, which is a nice thing. I didn't think it was that big of a deal until I started riding it, and you realize how much smoother it is to ride on rough terrain when you have shocks. The bike chain, take care of it. Make sure it's free of rust. Make sure it's not kinked up. It's nice and clean. It doesn't have debris in there, and you keep it well lubricated. And a lot of people use WD-40, which is fine, but WD stands for water displacement. This was a NASA invention for the rocket ships, used for getting rid of water where they didn't want it, and they'd spray this out. The problem is the NASA employees were taking the stuff home all the time because they found other great uses for it, and that's what made WD-40 so popular. It became a household product. But it works, but there's other stuff that works better that's made for change. Other silicone and dry silicone and other different things that you could put on your chain that would probably work better than the WD-40. So make sure the chains are in good working order. Your pedals. On my bike, I've got these toe clips. These are probably the cheapest things you can get for your bike and probably get the most bang for your buck in return for your effort in riding. Those itself will get you about 20% more power when pedaling, and that's a great thing to have, to get more power out of each pedal. Because your toes are clipped in there, just that the motion of picking up your foot as it goes around the rotation helps the pedaling and helps secure the feet to the pedals, and just makes the whole thing more efficient. For like $5, you can retrofit those to your existing pedals, and you're off. It makes it a whole lot easier. The tires then. This is one thing I want you guys to spend a little bit of time on. All right, so these tires are not the ones that came with the bike. On your bike, if you have a mountain bike, your tires are probably a little bit thicker, a little bit beefier here. These are a little bit thinner because I wanted them to cut through the mud, kind of like a pizza cutter in racing. But I still wanted the knobs on there for some traction going up or down the hills and making the turns. So this is kind of a hybrid a little bit. Most mountain bikes have the big knobby tires, which is great, but for road riding, you don't want that. You want more of a smoother tire. And you can get hybrid terrain bikes now that have a good road tire, but configured more in a off-road bike as far as the T-handles and the frame and everything else. So look at your tire, make sure it's the type of tire you want. So the smoother tire is better for road, the knobbier tire is better for all-terrain and mountains. But on the side of the tire, you'll see if we can find this here and pull it up on frame. All right. Not going to be able to see it here, but on the side, it's printed, the PSI range, pounds per square inch. It'll say, on my bike, it's like 45 PSI min for minimum to 65 PSI max. And that's important because that's another thing that promotes efficiency when you go riding, that you are efficient in every pedal that you take. So if your tire says maximum 65 pounds per pressure, or pounds per square inch, that's what you want. Again, we're in Illinois, we're on roads. You want high pressure on your tires. Again, when I see people riding, most people have tires that are half flat or almost totally flat, and they're just fighting the friction. All right? You fight the friction all the time, it's exhausting. So you want that tire all the way pumped up so it rides on top of the tire, little friction, and you go so much easier with less effort. So on your bike, if you have a air compressor, great, otherwise a hand pump. You'll want something, this is just an example, there's all kinds out there, some sort of pressure gauge, so that when you put it on the bike tire, it'll tell you how much pressure is in there. Take it to a gas station. Right? Take it to a gas station, they got pumps there that tell you how much pressure is in it anyway, and they're free, most of them. So use something to find out how much air pressure in there that you have, and get the air pressure that's effective for you. So if you're riding on the roads all the time, get high pressure. If you're actually doing mountain climbing, take the pressure down. All right? Take it down to the minimum of 45, 50 pounds so that the tire is soft, so it can grip, the roots and the boulders and everything else that you're climbing over instead of sliding off with a higher tire pressure. So make sure you got good pressure in the tires. It's a big win for you guys just by doing that and making sure the bike's running well. All right. There's also a quick release, which is nice sometimes on the brakes. If you're making adjustments to the brakes or changing the tire and taking the wheel off, this quick adjustment, I'm not going to go through it here because you don't need to do it right now, but it is nice to have if you're looking at a new bike to make sure that it's something that you can take care of the bike a lot easier with. So that's the gist of what, make sure your tires or wheels are firmly adhered to your bike. I've had biking units where the front tire actually comes off the frame of the bike, or the bike wheel comes off the frame of the bike because it's not tightened down properly. I've had pedals shear off during our biking unit. I've had brakes fail and chains break during the time, and handlebars come off. So I've seen it all, and it's because people aren't taking care of their bikes. So take care of your bike, make sure it's measured up, all right, have fun out there for the next couple days. So here's your assignment. You've listened to this, which is great. I want you to check, make sure the frame of the bike is good, so you're not sitting on the bar, you can still lift it up. I want you to make sure the height is proper, so your leg on the bottom pedal has a slight bend, not too much of a bend, and not locked out. I want to make sure your front brake works. All right, so I want this shot, and then either a video or showing me something that your back brake is working. Those are the few things that I want back in the next 2 days. You got 2 days to go through this, so if you don't get to it today, Tuesday, or Wednesday, well, Wednesday you got to get it done. All right? By Wednesday, I should see some images or a video of you checking your bike and make sure it's properly sized for you and the brakes work. After that, on Thursday, we're going to do some riding, and I'll explain that more on Thursday, but you're going to get more points the further you go. All right, that'll be your assignment. So we'll take care of that. And for those that can't do biking, hopefully you get an opportunity to see if you can borrow someone else's. Otherwise, we'll have something else for you to do, other opportunities, and keep it rolling out there, guys. All right, see ya.